Thanks for coming out to join us today for session 0.5 of Haunted West. I'm excited to get this new RPG out into the world. I know it's been a long time coming for Kickstarter backers. Thanks, 2020. And I'm hoping this online campaign will help introduce the world, the weird, the system that powers it. And for those that miss a Kickstarter, the Haunted West core book is still available via pre-order, and it'll eventually jump into the chat somewhere. I'd like to actually start today by addressing the Twitter firestorm that set off about a month ago. After I announced Matt Mercer would be playing a PC of Chinese heritage in the game, I never meant to hurt anyone or disrespect members of the larger Asian community, and I'm sorry. Two major things I've learned. The gaming community at large feels that streaming is an entirely different animal. And two, an increased spotlight demands even more sensitivity to both character tweet descriptions and in choice of particular players playing characters. This also leads us to a larger discussion as a community that we need to have. As more marginalized creators work that focus on diversity of worlds, and those games need the spotlight that streams provide to help promote them and their work. I want to be clear, and I think my work highlights this belief that tabletop gaming is a powerful way to build understanding and empathy. I believe anyone can play any character in a role-playing game if done with respect, knowledge of culture, good intentions, and willingness to apologize for missteps and try to do better. We're all human, we'll stumble and fall, but we need to get back up again and try to do better next time. And hopefully, there's a strong support structure to aid you. We're in this together. So let's get to some character creation. I want to start by thanking this fine crew of players who've embarked on this journey. We're going to have a lot of fun. I guess I'll start by letting them introduce themselves. Ariel, would you like to start?
My name is Ariel. Gosh, I don't know what to say about myself. I work with Contessa. I am a huge fan of Haunted West and Chris's work in general, and I'm really excited to be playing. To be playing this game.
Thank you. Jen?
Hey, I am Jen Kretchmer. You can find me on Twitter as DreamWisp, on Twitch as DreamWispJen. I am a writer, performer, producer, all of the things. I also am the creator of the Accessibility in Tabletop Gaming resource guide, which you can find in my pinned tweet. And I do a lot of work in terms of accessibility for disability and inclusion. And are we saying who we're playing, or are we getting to that?
I was going to do a round of general, this is who you are, then we'll sort of shift to characters.
And we'll get to that.
As you can probably all tell, we're winging it a little bit today. Today is really sort of getting the groundwork of everything established, so then we can start telling our stories together. And I'm glad that all of you are coming out to see how we put it together. Since Humza has vanished into the TARDIS, I will go to Quinn next.
First, unmute. Okay. Hi, I'm Quinn Murphy. I am, you can find me on Twitter at QH_Murphy, where I abuse thread counts and rant about mostly RPG stuff all the time. But I've also been a freelance RPG designer for over a decade at this point. And, I've made my own sort of independent stuff, including stuff like Five Fires, a hip hop RPG, and also I've worked for WotC, a bunch of other companies, Paizo most recently.
Don't you have a new book coming out soon from Pathfinder?
Well, it's going to be coming out. Yeah, it'll be coming out next year. It'll be part of their adventure path set in the Mwangi Expanse, their African part of the setting. I cannot wait for y'all to see it. But I also have stuff coming up in new bestiaries. I've done Pathfinder side stuff. I also have some other stuff coming out from other companies next year. And last, I was in the Ultimate Micro RPG book which you all should check out because it is super exciting. It's like 40 great games by like great designers. So you should check that out. And done.
Thanks, Quinn. Humza.
Looks like I've finally solved my strange TARDIS visuals. Hi, I'm Humza Kazmi. I'm a partner with the Hydra Cooperative, an OSR-focused RPG publisher. My first adventure, though, is called Home is the Hangman, which is going to be coming out along with Haunted West. And I tweet. I can be found on Twitter at Allandaros, Allandaros.
Thank you. So I guess we'll start off by giving a quick overview of some of the character creation process. The system itself is a D100 roll under system. Technically, I would say D100 roll, score, and under system. I find the D100 it's fairly easy for people to pick up and get used to. And Haunted West will have a number of different moving parts, so I wanted a great way to introduce people to it. And one of the things that we did in the system is we have a degree of success called a jack. So for every 10 points that you succeed your skill by, you earn a jack, and the jack lets you do some interesting other perks and little things. All right. That said, let's actually sort of transition into some of the rolling, because the system itself uses a milestone creation path where it starts sort of with your parents, and then it follows your life as you go through. And we denote very specific key points that give you building blocks to tell your story from. I wanted an old school feel for the mechanics, but I wanted a new field vibe for creative storytelling. And I hope that we've done it. We'll see. All that said,
Chris, for folks who aren't familiar with Haunted West, can you tell us a little bit more about the game?
Thank you. That's a great way to start. So Haunted West is a Weird West role-playing game. And it's a tiered Weird West role-playing game, which means you can play it as almost a strictly historical version of the game, where there's none of the weird. You're playing just in the West in like 1870. It's you, a six-shooter, and dysentery. Or if you want, you can take more of the Weird West approach where you're sort of roving the plane. There's monsters, there's grays because there are aliens to the game. And on top of that, we've layered what I'm really happy about is the Haunted West Reconstruction timeline, which it's following what happened if the Reconstruction was actually successful. And the Reconstruction is something that came after the Civil War, and it addresses what the entire war was about. The Civil War is fought about the enslaving of people. And regardless of what any Southerner or Confederate want to be able to tell you, that's why they fought it. And that's why they're traitors, and they lost the war. And coming out of the war, one of the things they wanted to do was have Reconstruction, which would help sort of integrate the enslaved, now freed people and the rest of the world. And Reconstruction was actually killed by power plays and racism. And so in the game, I introduced a Reconstruction timeline that didn't fail, but one that we fight to sort of be successful and strive in all the changes it makes. Because a successful Reconstruction changes the entire course of the world. I guess I will also ask any of the players, as they haven't read a lot of the back history, if they have any questions before we dive into character creation. I will take silence to be no's.
Well, actually, I did want to touch on one thing, since my character concept has shifted a bit over the past couple of weeks, and we wound up touching upon my playing a character who was fleeing from from British control of India after the 1857 mutiny before coming to the US. So just checking, in the Haunted West Reconstruction timeline, does anything particularly significant change between, say, US-British relationships post-war?
There will be some significant changes. One of the things that the book focuses on right now is we're trying to give you the first 4 to 5 years of that change. And we focus more on like how there's universal suffrage by like 1868. There is the state of Sequoia, and there's lots of things like that. And we have a small shout out section that talks about the rest of the world also. And I would give you spoilers, but I want the backers to see it first.
Fair.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
As I've lived with the game, I'm sort of trying to make sure I can like lay it out so everyone else can sort of understand it. And so for the characters themselves, we have 7 core attributes. We have physique, awareness, knowledge, technology, awareness, and personality, which sort of encompass all
Resolve.
Thank you, because I'm not looking at a character sheet. And that sort of encompasses all the different aspects of the character. And I take a quick look at the chat window if anyone has any questions from out there in the world. No. All right. So the crew here has already rolled the first 2 or 3 milestones on their characters, and we're going to start with their adolescence milestone. And each milestone has 3 there's 3 parts to it. There's the role itself, then there's a little descriptor blurb that sort of gives you building blocks, and then there's the actual mechanics that impact your character. So let's start with Jen. Can you roll me a d12?
Sure. Here.
Should we give a preface for the characters that we're starting?
Sure.
Like just like what some concepts. Like yeah, I guess maybe when we're doing the roll and then start rolling.
Oh no, we can go do that now since we're actually sort of doing a truncated character session. Which means you've already sort of figured out the basic core of the character that you want. If everyone wants to sort of give that quick overview, then we can go back to the mechanical rolling aspects of it. So, Quinn, do you want to start?
Sure, I volunteered by speaking up for that. So I'm playing Moses Jackson. Yeah, Moses Jackson. Who is a grifter turned demonologist, which is basically just another type of grifter. He's sort of, it was sort of grifting was sort of how a thing that he learned from his dad to be sort of uncharacteristically for a Black man of that time, like privilege and sort of free. Sort of they like learn these sort of scams. From his dad practiced them, then he learned them and carried them on. But there came a time where the grift didn't quite work out, and he needed. He was able to sort of reach into, he had gained these other powers, or he was dabbling with other powers, and then he had to cash them in. And now he is running with lots of powers that he doesn't really fully understand, but they answer when he calls, sort of. And so he calls them more and more. I think that's like a rough concept.
Awesome. Thanks, Quinn. Hey, Humza, since your character's changed, do you want to sort of give a rundown on your new version of it?
Sure. So I'm still figuring out some of the details, and part of that is going to include name, because I'm not quite sure where in India my character is going to be from, and part of that's going to shake out during the stream as we figure out like the background and things that make sense. But my character is veteran of the 1857 mutiny against the British Raj. After the mutiny failed and was put down, he wound up trying to flee India, coming to the US, and just in time to get caught up in the Civil War. Joined the Union Army because soldiering was the trade that he knew, and trying to find his way post-war.
Awesome. Ariel, would you like to give a little overview of your character?
Her name is Clara. They grew up. Clara's mother died in childbirth, which is throughout their young life has been an event that has intensely shaped who they are. Clara was raised by an aunt and uncle on a plantation, and to get away from that life, basically walked west, spent their young life as a trapper, and kind of stumbled into serving in the Union Army after, I think, a couple of years of that, even though I'm not clear on timelines, which I guess we'll shake out while we're doing this. Um, Clara's small and quiet and has a relationship with plants, nature, animals. And so Clara was a great scout, um, has been a great scout during the war. We're still in the war now. Is that the time change?
No.
Happened?
So one of the things
We're post-war.
yeah, the crew here actually sort of roll their characters, and so we're rolling back to different points of the characters to sort of show people how it all works to lead them back up to where they were.
Right.
So some of their story is already influenced by the roles they had, but when you see how the roles work, it'll help you understand possibly some of the ways that they develop the characters to go forward. And the actual game year itself, when we start playing next session, is going to be 1868. About 3 years after the Civil War. Jen. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I thought I had something to say, but I do not.
No.
Please, Jen.
I am playing Cassidy Hecuba Page. Hecuba is her gunslinger name. The rest of the time she goes by Cassidy or Cassie or Cass, depending who she's talking to. So she is a gunfighter, but she actually came out of academia. She grew up in a bit of a tough situation. She was disenfranchised in her childhood with a bit of an extended family. There was a raid on her family, which killed her parents. And she has one sibling who completely blames her for it, even though she was not there. Some actions she took may have led to that, to their family getting discovered. And that sibling has never forgiven her. But growing up in that situation, she was very comfortable with animals and animal handling. After that, she moved away to live with some extended family, and started studying in academia, and went from there. At a point in her life, she did suffer. She was injured, and a strange person came around and was able to help her out, leaving her with a clockwork heart. Saved her life, but it gives her a bit of a strange element there. And she served for a few years, mostly helping out in a non-combat situation, working with clerking and such to help on the bookkeeping side of things, which is also super important. I think those are the major things about her. But yeah, she despite that, she is pretty much the quickest draw in the West. You do not want to go toe to toe with Cassie, with Hecuba. That's how she earned her name.
Thanks, Jen. All right, so we'll actually go to some of the mechanics now. So we're going to go back to Quinn. We'll start with adolescence. Quinn, what did you roll for adolescence?
I rolled 12, raised by the elite.
Which, raised by the elite for us, there are certain things that a person of class must know, and you're a person of class, is sort of the description for it. And then the actual mechanical effects itself, you have 3 sets of paired skills that Quinn's going to get to pick which one he wants from each pair, and then he'll get a bonus to those skills to start with. So, for instance, he'll get a plus 20% to business or scholar appraisal. Which one do you like, Quinn?
Scholar appraisal.
And the next we go, there's a plus 20% to command or expression.
Expression.
And then a plus 20% to first aid or observation.
Observation.
All right, and actually for these, you have four pairs, not three. So there's a plus 20% to style type or the arts type.
Wait, the styles type or the arts type?
Yeah. Do you want to be flashy and people know who you are by your looks, or do you want to know the arts?
Oh, I absolutely need to be flashy, and no, that's part of the con. So yes, style.
And so we have style type. So that means like, what sort of style type do you want?
Oh,
Do you want sort of like that elitist
like
noble
fashion?
style? Do you want a more of a gambling sort of vibe? Do you want, like Jen would have like a gunslinger, Ariel might have like a hunter. Humza, if he wants to go more for like the soldiering aspect, might have like a soldier. Or you can have something that's totally opposite of yourself. Sort of build on that con.
Style like authority.
Okay.
Can I get like kind of like I'm good at presenting my thing of somebody who just is some vague like sort of like when I flash the psychic paper, they're like, oh, sir officer, got it, right? Or like the mayor or whoever they need to obey.
Awesome, done. Humza, can you roll me d12? Since this is like a newer character for you, you might not already have one established like some of the players.
Okay, so I got a 12.
Shockingly enough, you got the exact same thing that Quinn got. So I will give you the choice. Do you want to roll with that, or do you want to like take your chance and roll the bonus to get something else?
I can roll again. So rolling again, that's a 9.
9. Raised in an orphanage. So the actual mechanical effects, you'll have your choice of these 4 paired skills. You get a plus 20% to bluff or wily.
Let's see. Wily in this context would be.
You're able to like be a little bit more slippery and tell like quicker tales to get yourself out of it. There's a slight difference between wily and a bluff or deception, which we could go into a little bit more in the skill section.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go with bluff. That's plus 20 there.
Yeah. Then a plus 20% to expression or ingratiate.
Expression.
And a plus 20% to fisticuffs or repair.
Fisticuffs.
And lastly, a plus 20% to low profile or stealth. And so the big difference for low profile is you're not hiding as if you would be in the shadows, but you're sort of blending into the crowd. People are sort of overlooking you. It's a lot more, these aren't the droids I'm looking for. And someone goes and talks to someone else instead of engaging with you.
Right. Disappearing into the crowd, just blending in. I'll go with the stealth.
Okay. All right. And so that would be yours. Ariel.
Okay.
Can you roll me a d12? Or if you'd like to tell me what you already rolled, we can go through that again, because all of those skills things have been pulled out of the character now.
Originally, we rolled, this is adolescence?
Yes.
Originally, we rolled Raised on the Plantation. I don't have the numbers recorded.
That'd be a 1. And the mechanical effects.
Sounds about right.
Almost like you know me. You get a plus 20% to animal handling or ingratiate.
Mm-hmm. I probably took animal handling.
Oh, no. I mean, like the new character sheets I sent out, all these points and everything are removed from those characters.
Oh, we're doing that part now?
Oh, yeah. That's a joy of session 0.5. We live this together.
Okay.
They watch us do this.
Sorry.
They watch me get tongue-tied as a balladeer.
I was confused. So plus 20% to animal handling?
Animal handling or ingratiate.
No, I'll take the animal.
Then a plus 20% to craft type or trade type.
Craft type.
Then a plus 20% deception or leisure domain, which is sleight of hand or lying really well to people.
Let's say deception.
Good choice. And lastly, a plus 20% to fortitude or resilience. For here in Hard and West, fortitude is more sort of a physical resistance, while resilience is more sort of a mental and emotional resistance.
Fortitude.
All right, we've got all 4 of yours, and the big thing is, out of all of these different, basically, tiers for different adolescents, the skills that we've tried to choose somehow correlate with a broad commonality of what that would normally give you the option of having. And the reason they're paired is to help people sort of tailor their character to how they envision them being. And these are establishing solid points that people can build stories off of, because we're not telling you about your life during that point in time. We're saying this data point happened. And then you get to add in your own everything else to establish how it happened, what it was like, and anything else that occurred there.
One of the things I like about it. Oh, sorry.
No,
I was just going to say one of the things I like about. Yeah. The thing that I like about this sort of method is sort of like it is sort of like life in a way, and sort of like you're dealt a hand, right? But then when you choose sort of like these things, you get to sort of choose how you're gonna deal with it, right? You know, like I started building Moses, kind of like, okay, we start here, and then I'm like, okay, so these are the kind of, you know, and by the time you're done, you sort of gotten events and choices. So yeah, I just wanted to throw.
Yeah, it gives you puzzle pieces that kind of spark story in your head as you're going, oh, well, how would you get from that to that? What would have to happen in order for you to make those changes? And you know, it's really neat. And it also, you can put in as much or as little as you want, depending on what kind of player you are, which is really awesome. So
it's really important to me.
A 10.
10. Raise in academia.
Okay.
So the mechanical effects, you'll get a plus 20% expression or mechanics.
Let's go with what does mechanics do again?
Mechanics is going to help you build different sorts of machines and those kind of things. Which repair kind of lets you.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So mechanics is actually sort of building them, while repair is sort of actually fixing them themselves. And then a scholar engineering would help you sort of actually design how they should function and everything else.
So if I needed to be able to fix my own heart, what would I need to do?
You would need to talk to someone that's a practitioner, like Quinn, or someone with a degree in the weird science that may have installed it. It would be difficult for you to do it yourself.
Then I'm going to go with, I think, expression.
And next.
What else is in Raised in Academia?
All right, you get a plus 20% language type or research.
Let's go with research.
And the next one's going to be another plus 20% language type or scholar type.
Let's go scholar.
And the last one's going to be a plus 20% science type or the arts type.
Scholar. Let's do science. So those were all 20, is that right?
Yeah.
Or was the first one 15? Okay.
They're all 20. These are all plus 20.
Okay.
So now that you've done like that level, we're going to move into adolescence. And each milestone covers a swath of time. The initial ones before the Paragons pass themselves cover from basically age 1 second to about 17, roughly. And we go through, I want to say, like 5 or 6 of them. And then there's also some that happen for any sort of relatives who raised you and those kind of things. But we've already done those, so we're not going to really touch on those today. Does anyone have any questions about these before we move on to apprenticeship? All right. And so the other big thing is, as well, it's all rolling. In the book, if you wanted to, if you talk to the Balladeer, you can actually sort of choose them yourselves. I encourage rolling because I like the randomness of it, and it helps you sort of build different things for it. And under the apprenticeship, I actually took a suggestion that Quinn gave me when we made his character a few months ago for this level of it. That has a little bit more of a little bit added choose your own adventure sort of aspect to it. And so we're going to actually start with Humza. Since you've like changed your character a little bit, and just from what you've said, I would suggest that you start with number 10, which will help us encapsulate your history for around when you were at 17 fighting the war, which gives you military service. Which would dovetail perfectly. Or would you like to roll?
In this case, because I have the specific concept, I think I'd like to take that.
Okay. And so military service, and for this one, when we do the little branching, you have your choice. Did you fight on the front lines, or did you serve as support?
Front lines.
Okay. So now you have your choice of 4 more tiered skills, all at plus 20. Originally, we had it so that it was the exact same as everything else, but by the time you're an apprentice, you have more control over the character's life and everything else they would have done. They have a lot more agency. So you have a choice even now of like dividing your path a little bit more. So you get a plus 20% to archery or long arms type.
Long arms rifles.
Okay. Followed by a plus 20% to athletics or tactics type.
Tactics infantry.
Good call. Then a plus 20% to first aid or ride type.
First aid.
And lastly, a plus 20% to melee type or short arms type.
I guess I'll take short arms pistols.
Okay. And the other aspect for your apprenticeship is that somewhere in your character sheet, note that this is a special trait that you have. Skilled soldier.
Mm-hmm.
You gain an extra jack on all successful athletics calls. And in the game, for us, a call is a skill roll.
Okay, noted.
Any questions?
Nope, not so far.
All right, Ariel. Would you like to use what you have? Would you like to roll?
Which one is this?
Apprenticeship.
Let's roll.
Love it. All right, can you roll me d12?
I can. That's a 12. That's a 12. 9.
9. Magical number 9. Medicine. So, Valheim, which for us is you went the medical route. You have 2 choices here. You could have gone sort of a more animal, veterinarian-esque route, or humans, so more of a physician, or sawbones.
Animals.
Okay. You have your choice of a plus 20% to animal handling or fortitude.
I'll take the animal handling.
Then a plus 20% to deduction or expression.
Deduction.
Then a plus 20% to medicine or science type.
Science type.
And then you have your choice of a plus 20% to athletics or ride.
Ride.
And for this, you have a special talent called Skilled Veterinarian. You gain an extra jack on successful animal handling calls.
Great.
Right. Jen,
Yeah.
would you like to roll or choose what you had before?
I think I liked the concept I had before, so I think I'm gonna stick with what we were doing, which was the law. So it was the
Okay.
becoming a legal clerk.
So this has changed a little bit since then. Since you've
Oh,
chosen
has
law,
it? Okay.
you have your choice of you were driven by justice or vengeance.
I think we were doing vengeance stuff, weren't we?
I wasn't doing vengeance stuff. You seem to have had a vengeance kick of wanting to enjoy vengeance.
No, because I went Code of the West. So yeah. No, I was Code of the West, so I'm vengeance type. Yeah, I want to use. I'm. Yep.
You get your choice of a plus 20% archery or long arms type.
Long arms, please. This is for apprenticeship, yeah.
Yeah. A plus 20%.
So the law, and I'm vengeance. And that was long arms 20%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then athletics or dodge.
Dodge.
Then observation or short arms type.
Gunslinger, you want the short arms.
Probably
Come
gotta
on.
be the short arms, yeah. But I'm just wondering if I get that somewhere else. I'll take
It never
short arms.
hurts to be able to shoot people really well in the Western.
This is true. Let's go with it.
And lastly, ride or tactics type.
What does tactics do?
Tactics is sort of how you've learned to fight. You might have tactics for ambush, for infantry. It lets you maximize working with them, and you might be able to make a roll to earn additional jacks to be able to do something with in that environment.
Let's go with tactics then.
And you'll have to figure out which sort of tactics you want. Which, for a Western, there's also tactics like train robbery. Or shootouts.
Oh. I don't.
We can come back to that.
I don't know. Yeah.
May I ask a question that I think might be helpful? Where did Hecuba, like, what sort of environments would Hecuba most likely be shooting people in?
I'm not sure yet. I think she kept most of that apart from her. I think she's got the like straight edge at work mode, and then she's using the information that she's learning there to find loopholes and also to get leads on where she can go. Because I have a contact set up. I unless that's changed too. I had like a contact who would give me jobs.
Throughout the entire process, if you've already rolled, I'm going to give you the option to roll new or keep what you have. You can keep what you have because I've already taken all the points out, and we're going to retell it to you.
Yeah, I just don't know if any of the what I had chosen has changed. So like the actual mechanics of it have changed. Okay, so yeah, so she has a contact that feeds her information about jobs, and leads on those, and so she kind of goes and does those. I kind of see her taking a bunch of different things, but based on what's going on. So I don't know where she's shooting people. I think wherever she has to.
I was waiting for someone to say in the back, but it's just my thinking.
Quickly and before they can draw.
All right, we can come back to that for you.
Yeah.
Your
We'll come back to it.
Your special thing here is skilled vigilante. You gain an extra jack on successful athletics calls.
Okay, so then maybe I should change my other thing to athletics instead of dodge. Right?
I never say yay or nay. It's up to the players what you want. But dodge would definitely get you out of the way of bullets. But mind you, athletics will let you jump onto trains and leap from horse to horse.
Okay. No, I'll keep it. It's fine.
All right. Quinn, would you like to keep what you have? Would you like to roll a new?
I want to roll.
Yes.
And I already rolled a d12, and I got a 2.
2. All right. Do you want to go into the law, or do you want to roll anew? Because you've already got someone else that's in the law.
The way we know each other.
Possibly, and and this like sets up sort of these kind of, for the Gris and Khan, it might actually be good to actually have some sort of knowledge, some basis in reality, for which to fake. So, yes, actually,
Awesome.
I've just talked myself into it.
Go Team Legal Scholars.
All right, so you get the same choice. Were you driven by justice or driven by vengeance? Or we could say apathy and you faked one or the other, whichever strikes your fancy.
I think I was initially driven by justice. I think I did get in there. Like I'd learned all the stuff from Dad, on how to get by, but I was like, no, like we shouldn't need to do that stuff, especially especially if we've got reconstruction and stuff that's like working, like we don't have to do this, right?
Awesome.
We can. And so this is my period before I became fully disillusioned, where I believed in this stuff. So yes, driven by justice.
Excellent. All right. You're going to notice that some of these are similar because even at the heart of it, you still did a few of the same sort of overlapping things.
Right.
So, for instance, for you, you still have the plus 20% to archery or long arms type, whichever one.
Archery.
All right. Then you have command.
People would argue that that justice and vengeance are the same thing.
Mm.
That's a moral debate for the in-game character that I will not have with you here. Did you get your choice of command or deduction?
Command.
And for people that are curious, deduction here is in fact very Holmesian-esque deduction. Then you have fortitude or observation.
Observation.
And lastly, ride or scholar law.
Scholar law.
I would also like to point out, for anyone that's paying attention, you'll notice that vengeance did not get the choice of having scholar law.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that because that is actually more in line with the concept that I was working on.
But so you'll still have additional points at the end that you can use to sort of move things around. But the character itself, by choosing vengeance, went on a more focused path. That's why you had more options to be a better combatant than what Quinn got to be sort of a better detective.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And Quinn, your trait is you're a skilled sheriff. You get an extra jack on successful deduction calls.
Okay.
And everyone has their adolescence now, correct?
Mhm.
Right. Show this one.
Yep.
And so that part, having done all that, everyone has now completed all of their milestones up to around 17. And that's where the character would then like sort of branch off into their Paragon path. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we've done so far, or anything that you'd like to point out for the listeners that we have out there? Viewers, not listeners. Well, both technically. I will take that as a no. All right. Can everyone say again what your Paragon was?
Um,
I'm a gunfighter.
I'm a practitioner.
I am the law. I
I'm
can't pull the Carl Urban voice.
Yes, no, not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah?
I am a hunter.
Awesome. All right. So, based on the age of the character, Paragons happen in about a 4-year period. So, every 4 years, we roll a milestone. And there is no limit other than the year the game starts in for how many you can roll. For us, though, for after 3 rolls, you become more entrenched in sort of the concept and Western vibe of what your character is. And so, your Western path increases that. And you become more solidified and less malleable to change because you've done it for so long. For instance, I think the gunfighter gets more vengeful for every roll that they get after 3 because they're killing so many people. The hunter would actually sort of start transitioning more to a rugged because they're doing more things out in the wilderness and they're doing less things in civilization. And compared to the practitioner, who would get more worldly and superstitious, and the law would get more lawful and less inclined to do breaking the law. All right. All of that said, everyone on the character sheet should have how many rolls that you get. And for us, it starts either in the Western expansion, which is sort of the 1840s to 1860s, or then the Civil War, and then the Old West itself. So I will start with Ariel. On the back of your character sheet, I should actually have already written how many rolls that you get here.
Yes.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me take a step back. So the Paragon Paths also include things like an attribute bonus. You'll get additional skills, and this is where we modify your Western code. And everyone has a Paragon expertise that sort of like helps them sort of more delineate who they are compared to other people. And one of the things is you've heard Jen talk about her clockwork heart. We also have peculiarities, which are positive or negative. And those can be things like you might be a little bit better shot. You might have actually encountered the weird. You might be hunted by a vampire. Maybe you have authority over other people, like you have a shiny badge that people might respect or not. And then we have propensities, which are special traits that your character has. They start as hyper skills and they move into supernatural. For instance, I think at level 5 of one of them, someone can lasso and ride a tornado for an hour or 2, and you control where it goes. But at level 1 at that, they might be great with the lariat, like the rope and like tying someone up. So, hey, I've tied you up really well with my rope. I'm riding a tornado through your town like vengeance. All right, now
I really appreciate the Picos Bill path.
It's iconic. You have to put it in there. All right,
It is. No, 100%.
So Ariel, an attribute bonus for the hunter. You have your choice of a +2 in physique or awareness. This is sort of like more where your character leans towards and sort of like helps represent you more.
Awareness.
Okay. And right there, since it has been an hour, we're going to take a 10-minute break for people to maybe grab some water, do anything else they need to do, and then we'll be back. Thanks again, everybody. And we are back. Hope everyone enjoyed their break. I myself have exchanged my beer for whiskey as we continue. I need you to feel more Old Westy. All right, so Ariel, you chose to take a plus
What
2
kind of whiskey?
awareness. Right now, it's a Widow Jane 10-year. Something a little rougher.
Nice.
Ariel, you chose a plus 2 in awareness, right? Your muted silence is an affirmative. All right. So you'll be surprised by this, but you'll get your choice between 7 paired skills. But for these, you're going to add a plus 25% to the plus 20. The big thing is for the skills, none of them can start above 75% unless one of your peculiarities lets that happen.
Okay.
So you have your choice of
Do I
archery.
have a peculiarity that lets that happen?
No, not that I'm aware of. And so one of the things, sorry, I'll sort of ask the chat. If anyone in the chat has any questions, any clarity or anything, please shoot them into the chat window, and we'll try to answer them and let you know anything that you really want to know about, unless it's a big spoiler. And then I may still do it. And so everyone's already taken their peculiarities and their propensities, and they're already on their characters, and we're probably not going to have a chance to go over those in the time that we have today. So, Ariel, you have your choice of archery or long arms type, and a plus 25% to that, to any of these.
Long arms.
Next, there's expression or observation.
Observation.
First aid or wily.
Let me come back to that one. Go to the next one.
A plus 25% to intimidate or scholar type.
Scholar type.
Plus 25% to short arms type or stealth.
Stealth.
Survival or track. While you're thinking, I will say the next one gives you a choice of, what's that?
I would think it would have to be track, just from a part of her life being a fur trapper.
Okay.
Or is that not true anymore? The fur trapper part.
It's up to you. You may be a better tracker, or you may be better at surviving in certain environments. Because you're going to be skilled at both. It's just a matter of which one you're more skilled at.
Okay. And what was the other thing what were you saying? The next one is going to
be athletics or weapon maintenance.
Okay, let's take survival. And the next one is athletics or
weapon maintenance. And weapon maintenance is going to be important because weapons do degrade, especially when you're sort of out in the wilds or the wilderness using them.
Yeah, let's do weapon maintenance. All right. And so let's take wily instead of first aid.
Okay. Now, we move on to your Code of the West. So the Code of the West is sort of how you present yourself and how the world engages with you. And there are different paired attributes associated with it. And as a hunter, your rugged goes up by +2, and the paired attribute goes down by 2. Because that number will always equal 20 when added together. And your superstitious goes up by 2, and the paired attribute goes down by 2.
This is for me.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, my superstitious goes up by 2 and my rugged goes up by 2.
Yes.
Okay.
And lastly, before the rolls, which I'm going to sort of go through everyone's Paragons here, and then we'll go back and we'll do all the rolls for everyone's tables together, sort of like table by table, so people can see how they're similar and still different at the same time. So, Ariel, you have your choice of one of these 4 expertise. You have a knowledge of plants and animals that usually live in any area. Number 2, you know what the weather is likely to be for the next day or 2. Number 3, you can always find a quiet place of natural beauty nearby. Or number 4, you can tell if something is unnatural in an area.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a different choice and I still want number 4.
Go forth. It's not like I'm going to do something crazy, something unheard of to nature, right? And have animals come up to you that are very scared and spooked, and then have it be nothing. Just Timmy hanging out the well, maybe near the edge, maybe not.
I want to try to open as many doors as I can for you.
I appreciate that. And all right, so I'm going to come back to you, but right now we're going to go over to Jin, the gunfighter.
Yeah.
For your attribute bonus, you get your choice of a +2 to reflex or resolve.
I think I'm going to go with reflex.
All right, and so your skills plus 25% to either athletics or tactics.
Athletic. Well, I already took tactics, so I guess athletics. 25.
Okay. A plus 25% to bluff or intimidate. One of the other things that I also want to bring up is that when we're making the game, for me, having a social conflict is also as important as sort of a physical conflict. And so the social skills that you have chosen will also be impactful for the social conflict. And social conflict sort of leads me into the reason I'm saying this for you is that we also have specific gunfighter duels, which deal a little bit with sort of like figuring out your opponent, sort of trying to like scare them a little bit, and then the actual draw when everything happens. So it's going to be sort of a multi-round thing, which may influence how you want to take, what sort of social skills you want to take.
I think bluff is the way to go there.
Next, you have dodge or stealth.
Stealth.
Fisticuffs or fortitude.
Actually, my stealth is already super high. You know, I'm sorry. I'm going to take dodge there. It takes me to 45.
I don't ever think I've heard anyone complain about a high dodge skill before. Thank you for
yeah,
first.
No. I'm not complaining about it. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
Fisticuffs or fortitude is our next one.
Fisticuffs or fortitude. Fortitude.
Next, we have long arms or short arms.
Normally, I will be using short arms, right?
Short arms are usually easier to conceal.
Okay.
And long arms would have better
Then-
range and possibly more damage, but they're also really big.
Yeah.
Please, Sheriff, please ignore me and my 10 gauge shotgun. I'm not here to cause
Yeah,
any trouble.
let's. Oh, I do love the idea of. Yeah, let's go with short arms. That's fine. Yeah.
Then we have psychology or ride.
Just ride. Where is ride? Ride is there. Psychology.
And lastly, resilience or weapon maintenance.
Weapon maintenance.
And for your Code of the West, your vengeful goes up by
Yes.
3, and your worldly goes up by 1.
Okay.
So also,
is up.
if anyone in chat has any questions, please feel free to ask.
And that was you said worldly goes up by 1?
Yeah.
No.
And your Paragon expertise. You know the bounty on any known outlaws you encounter. Number 2, you can spot corrupt law enforcement
Hang
after
on, hang on.
watching
I'm trying to find out my character sheet. I can't keep up. Where? Paragon expertise is.
It's going to be a note probably on the back of the sheet somewhere.
Okay, I'll just write it in for now. What is it?
There are going to be 4 choices. You have your choice of one of these. You know the bounty on any known outlaw you encounter. You can spot corrupt law enforcement after watching them for a few minutes. You know the reputation of any gunfighter you encounter. And lastly, you know your current reputation. Your current reputation precedes you wherever you go.
I think with the law background, I think spotting corrupt law enforcement is something that I would like to be able to do.
Awesome. And we're going to move over to Humza, the law.
Alrighty.
For your attribute bonus, +2 to awareness or physique.
Mm. 1 second as I look at my stats here. Okay, I'll go to awareness.
Awesome. And for your 7 skills, that you'll have whichever one you choose gets a +25% to athletics or dodge.
Dodge.
Command or convince.
Command.
Deduction or tracking.
Deduction.
Scholar bureaucracy or weapon maintenance.
Weapon maintenance.
First aid or scholar law.
First aid.
Long arms or short arms.
Long arms.
And lastly, intimidation or negotiation.
Negotiation.
And your Code of the West, your lawful goes up by 2 and your societal goes up by 2.
Okay.
And for your Paragon expertise, you get one of these 4. You know the bounty for any outlaw you encounter after a few minutes. Number 2, you know the basics of local criminal law wherever you are. Number 3, you know where to find a sympathetic judge or equivalent. Number 4, you know the major criminal players in any given area.
Mm. All right. First one is bounties. Second one is
First one is bounties. Second one is local criminal laws. Because as you go from territory, sometimes city to city, laws are a little bit different in each area.
right. Let's go for sympathetic judges.
Okay. And now we move to Quinn for the practitioner.
Okie dokie.
You get a +2 to your resolve or your knowledge.
Resolve.
Good choice. Now you get a +25% to one of these pairs. Your first one is bluff or convince.
Bluff.
Next is deduction or observation.
Observation.
Leisure domain or logic.
Ledger domain.
Lock picking or ride.
Lock picking.
Low profile or research.
Research.
Resilience or scholar occult.
Scholar occult.
Next is scholar type or theology.
Scholar type.
Because you could have something like a scholar history, maybe a scholar of different sorts of cultures, all sorts of different things.
Didn't I have? I got appraisal before, right? As a
that's scholar type. Like you'd have scholar appraisal.
Okay. So I can't pick that again for this to boost that?
Or... Oh no, you can. I'm saying that appraisal falls under our different scholar types. Like there's a tier of scholar types. Like you might have history, appraisal, culture, bureaucracy. And if you wanted appraisal as your scholar type, you could have scholar appraisal, then you have scholar occult. They're two separate skills.
Okay, I see. Then I'm trying to think. Actually, I think theology. I think that would actually branch me out here. Yeah.
For your Code of the West, you get a +2 to worldly and disgraced.
Worldly and disgraced?
Yeah. Your Paragon expertise. You get a choice of one of these four. You can identify fellow practitioners and believers in supernatural forces. You know the major spiritual practices and beliefs of the local community. You can spot a charlatan, someone faking a connection to the weird by observing them for a few minutes. Or number 4, you can identify evidence of weird activity and presence, including physical remains, patterns, those sorts of things.
It takes a fake to spot a fake. This is the one thing that I don't fake. So I can identify other charlatans. I can identify charlatans because I'm not one. There you go.
Awesome. All right, so that is pretty much the Paragons, the actual sort of physical Paragon overall class benefits to get you. Now we're going to move into the milestones for each Paragon path, and the milestones themselves cover about a 4-year period. And they're broken down almost by specific eras. The first one's sort of a westward expansion, that's 1840s to 1860s. And we're going to start with Quinn since we're on Quinn. Quinn, from how old your character is, were you over 17 between 1840 and 1860?
1840 and 1860.
I think I put a note on the back of your character sheet that should tell you if you have a roll or not.
For like the westward expansion part of it, or the...
Yeah. Westward expansion.
Yeah, no. I don't have a roll for there. I don't get one till Civil War.
Okay. So we're going to do all the Westward expansions together. I'm going to go through everyone, then we're going to go back down. So no roll for you there. So we're going to go back to Humza.
Okay.
Since you have a slightly different character now.
Yeah.
How old is your character in 1840?
Let's see. In 1840?
Between 1840 and 1860.
So birth year 1838. So going up to 1860, that puts me at 22.
Okay. So we're going to roll once on this table. So if you would roll me a d6 on the Westward expansion table.
D6?
Yes, please.
Okay. That's a 4.
Actually, based on your history, I will give you another opportunity to not roll, and we can take number 1, which is a soldier, which has you transitioning sort of out of that period of your life, even coming over and still being a soldier. Would you like to do that?
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay. So then you'd come up with whichever war you fought in on this side, and that would give you a +5 to 1 conflict skill, and you still acquired a monthly $5 pension out of that point in time of your life.
Okay. So when you say a conflict skill, you're talking weapons use, something conflicts related?
It could be a physical conflict skill. It could be sort of a social conflict skill. So, for instance, because as I said, originally social conflicts are really important. So if you wanted to increase one of your social skills, you could. Or if you want to be able to shoot someone better, you could. Or if you wanted to be able to dodge, you could.
Okay. So given that, I guess adding to 5 to intimidation.
Okay.
All right, so that's 5 to intimidation. I have a pension of $5, you said?
Yeah.
And needing to figure out where my character served in the U.S.
Yes.
Right before the Civil War. Okay.
Yeah. So that's totally up to you. That's another sort of data point that can help shape your story. And while you're working on that, we're going to move over to Ariel. Ariel, for the Westward expansion.
I get 1 roll.
Can you roll me a d6, please?
I can. One.
Fur trader. So the actual mechanical benefits, you gain $50, which is enormous, and your survival or track skill goes up by 5%.
Survival or track? Anything in my track at all?
You'll always have your base starting attribute in your track and nothing else. So for the chat, all the skills are linked to an attribute, and for most of them, you have your base attribute as your starting percentage skill. For more advanced skills, you might only have a 1/5 of that attribute as your starting percentage chance.
I'll put the 5 in track.
Okay. And that's your 1 roll. And we'll move over to Jen. Jen, during 1840s to 1860s, on your character sheet, do you have any rolls?
No, I do not.
All right. And after that, we
I was
transition
born in
over.
1848.
Awesome. After that, we move to the Civil War era, which is basically 1861 to 1865. How many rolls do you have based on your character?
I have 1 roll.
Okay. Can you make me a roll, or you can take whatever you already have there?
Sure. So it's a 1.
Okay. With that 1, you'll gain a $5 monthly pension at the end of this. We're going to roll on the homesteaders and bad folks table in a minute.
Okay.
And you have your choice of were you enlisted or were you more like sort of an officer or spy type character?
I think I was enlisted.
Right? You get a plus 5% to 1 conflict skill and plus 5% to dodge.
Okay. Would they have used short arms there? Is that a possibility? Yeah.
Yeah. You would have more than likely used sort of more of the old black powder.
Yeah.
Give me 8 minutes and I'm going to shoot at you again.
Sweet.
All right, so let's roll on the homesteaders.
Good. So I would, and then 5 to dodge, which is in reflex. Takes me to 50. Homesteaders, okay. 6.
Can you roll? All right, and with that, can you roll me another d6?
1.
You gain an informant contact who provides you reliable information, if not lucrative. Because there's a choice here that if you rolled higher, you would have had a contact that would provide you lucrative information, but unreliable details. So it would have been a lot more dangerous, but it would have had a higher payout for it. And that would be your Civil Warriors. And as we are going in the first order back, Ariel, how many rolls do you have during the Civil War?
2.
All right. Would you like to use what you already have, or would you like to roll again for these 2 rolls?
I don't remember what I had. Let me look. Let's see. Civil War. Yeah, I like what I have.
Okay. What was the first one?
Military scout.
And what was the second one? Just
Transfer to enlisted work.
All right. Military scout, you're going to receive a $5 monthly pension at the start of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you increase your navigate and observation skill both by 5%.
Hey, Chris, I have a question. So
Yes.
we have our skill number. How does that affect the stats that are tied to it?
So the stats, say for instance, if we'll use deduction. If you have a knowledge of 15, your starting deduction, if it's linked, will be 15%. And then if you, for instance, gain throughout the course of the process another 40% added to deduction, your starting game deduction skill then is like 55%. So when you roll, if you roll under that,
your base number on top of whatever you've added to it, whatever percentages you've learned. Very cool.
And then that builds your skill.
And just looking at the character sheet, it looks like deduction's under awareness, not knowledge.
I know. I just pulled it out of the air to give a reference point. Thanks for calling
just
me
want to
out,
make
Humza.
sure that just making sure the listeners at home are not complaining when they see the character sheet and Chris said something different.
Well, that's going to happen no matter what. Sorry, Ariel, you were saying.
Can I have my skills again, please?
All right. So for Scout, you get a plus 5% to navigate and observation. And don't forget that very important $5 monthly pension after the start of the game. Money's going to be hard to come by, and I'm going to make you spend it.
Of course you are.
And for your transfer to enlisted, you gain a plus 5% athletics and then a plus 5% to 1 conflict skill.
Conflict.
And if you're not trained in a skill, do you still have the base of your stat in it?
Yes. So every skill in the character sheet, you have a percentage chance of success. But say, for instance, if it's something like electronics that is very rare, then you have a fifth of your starting percentage skill. So if you had a 10 in the attribute, you'd have a 2% chance of doing it successfully.
What's a conflict skill?
Like a social interaction could be like convincing, bluffing, it could be dodge, it could be shooting people. It's labeled conflict to give it more versatility for however you want to envision your character. If you envision your character more as a person that sort of cuts people down with witty banter, that's more of your conflict area. But if you envision yourself as shooting people, then you want to...
Huh. Okay.
Or if your character's entire concept is to never be hit, you might put all your points in athletics and dodge to always make sure that you can stand behind your ally. Do you know which one you want to put it in?
Okay. No, I have to, because they're all over the place, so I have to think about that. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to think about that for a little bit.
All right. Let's go over to Humza. I think you get 160. You have one roll in the Civil War based on your age, since they work in about 4-year brackets.
The sheet that you gave me said 2 rolls on Civil War.
Yeah, but we've sort of moved your age a little bit, I think, since then.
Okay.
But I'm happy to have you roll again. I want you to be as skilled as you can be.
Because it will be put to the test. Well, 1 or 2, whichever you prefer. You're the boss.
Let's go with 2. Let's show the people what we can do.
Okay, so 2 d6 rolls?
No, can you roll me a d8, please?
Okay. That's a 6.
Number 6, Vendetta. So something happened to you during the Civil War. Your vengeance goes up by 2 points under your Western code.
Okay.
And you get a +5 to a conflict skill and a +5 to intimidate.
Welcome to Team Vengeance.
I mean, my character was already a veteran of the mutiny. Vengeance was always the only option.
Hashtag Team Vengeance. Get shirts.
All right.
Vengeance from the law.
And you get to roll an additional d6. So, like your vengeance, and those are the overarching things. And then there's what happened to you during your vengeance streak here.
Okay, got a 1.
1, unnoticed. The character's disposition of their target went unnoticed without instance. Whatever happened, you were not caught. And you start with an additional $10.
Okay, cool.
And for your second roll, D8, please.
That's a 3.
3. Notorious. I am noticing a trend here. +2 to your nefarious.
Okay.
And your put in a note somewhere, put +5% reputation.
Okay.
And for whatever this notorious act was, are you proud of it or are you ashamed of it?
Proud.
Then add a +10% to one of your conflict skills. And for instance, if you had been ashamed of it, your resilience would have went up by 10%. All right, that is you. And now we move to the practitioner. I believe you have, is it 1 roll here?
Yeah, 1 roll. And I had originally off to war.
You want to take that, or do you want to?
Nah,
gamble?
we're gonna roll it. We're gonna roll.
I love it. Make me a roll. Roll me a d8.
D8. Okay. 2.
2. Oh, I was hoping you'd roll a 2 or 3. Weird war. So I'll even give a little bit more of a description here. You or someone else weaponize the occult or magical talents against a variety of enemies. You or them may have made hoodoo ballos, protective amulets, summoned demons, or called down other strange forces to battle opponents. Can you roll me a d6?
Sure. Five.
5. You bested another practitioner, and they cursed you in response. So note that you have cursed at 2 points.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
for your final role, practitioner, as we move practitioner into the Old West, because you only had one role then, now we're sort of in the Old West period. So from here, it's 1866 to the end of the Old West. And how many roles have you had so far?
Okay. I only have the one roll, and then I only have one roll for Old West.
Okay. So you're at 3 rolls. After this roll, we're going to stop with you, which if you'd had a 4th roll, your Western code would be an influence. But since you don't have that, your Western code will not be modified any more than whatever this does. So can you roll me a d12?
Okay. D12, okay. Three.
A weird enemy. It might be a rebel practitioner. It might be something from the other side. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's a powerful enemy and it hates you. So you start with a plus 10% resilience.
Mm-hmm. So I already, so just adding color in here. So one of the things, some of the family details we didn't cover here, but one of the details that we had when you rolled this up originally was that I had an identical twin who died in childhood. And my weird enemy is actually some spirit entity that like takes, sort of, what you assume to be his face and like his name and sort of like knows all stuff. He claims to be my brother. And we'll have to sort that out.
So what I was also going to say, after you put your plus 10% resilience, you have your choice. Is the enemy that hates you from the other side, which means you're hunted by the damned, or a rival practitioner, which would be adversary. I would say for you should potentially take hunted from the damned, and then whatever this thing is, we can shape it to fit that. And
well, so I was kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like wondering, I'm sort of thinking that it was like, oh yeah, like he died in childhood, but like, what if he didn't though? And like, what if he actually is a practitioner? And then that whole storyline of like why I thought he was dead and why he's not, and like
some sort of event that happened and you weren't sure if you think he died, but he could have survived.
Right. And it could be, and he hates me because like I'm thinking for anime dorks here, like I'm thinking like a Full Metal Alchemist thing, right? Like we were messing around with stuff and like, oops, I thought like everything got messed up, but he didn't, and like he's not like cool like the brothers in Full Metal Alchemist, so he just hates me for it.
So which one of you used the suit of armor again? Which one of you the suit of armor again?
Yes. Right? I'm assuming maybe he's a suit of armor at this point. So he's not so forgiving as Alphonse is. So, and fair.
You have an adversary, rival practitioner, and denote who it is, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with that.
Okay.
Is this an identical twin?
Yeah. So we rolled up the identical twin died in childhood. So
I'm not laughing maniacally inside at all.
I'm trying to give you material to work with.
I appreciate you looking out for me. All right. So that's all your rolls and all your milestones. And so what I'm going to ask you to do while I move on to like Humza is think about all those and have you sort of like explain your thought process to everyone that's sort of listening, so they see how the milestones are sort of line up, which you kind of did, but we may like highlight again.
Yeah.
Humza,
Sounds good.
how
Yes.
many rolls do you get for the law in the Old West?
Per the character sheet, I have one roll during the stream, which would be my fourth roll in total for the life path.
All right, so how that impacts you, since you're making your fourth roll, your lawful goes up by 1, and the other parallel stat goes down by 1. You're becoming more and more entrenched in this iconography of who you're supposed to be, and people engage with you like that. So say, for instance, if someone's being bothered or harassed by, we'll say, a vengeful gunfight or the Clockwork Heart, they're more inclined to come to you out of the rest of, like, say, Ariel or Quinn and say, can you believe that person's, like, trying to, like, beat me or hurt me? Can you help me? Please? Because that's sort of the vibe that you're giving off. You don't have to do it, but that's the vibe that you generate.
Right, because as we proceed along these Paragon paths, it's defining our characters. They're rolling into those archetypes.
Absolutely. If you can roll me a d12.
Okay. D12, that's a 10.
10. Jail time. You're either the guard watching a prisoner, or maybe you were bent law and got tossed in the clink. Were you a guard or a prisoner?
Prisoner.
Your lock picking goes up by 10%. I'm going to hear that story. And you'll only get one roll there, so that would be it for you. Now we'll move over to Ariel. I believe, Ariel, you also get one roll in the Old West.
Correct.
Can you roll me a d12?
Two.
Gone hungry through, though, out overhunting, vicious competition, or plain bad luck. Your prey is dried up and you can't make a living. Lose $50. Glad to be of service. Jin, I think that you have one roll, right?
Yes, I do. 9.
9. Gunslinger. Your speed and skill is legendary. Folks come from far and wide. You can gain a +1 reflex or a +1 resolve.
I will take a reflex, please. Yeah, I think reflex.
All right. So now that we've done all...
I just said that was my fourth roll.
Yeah, so if it's your fourth roll, for you, your rugged goes up by 1 point, and the other stat goes down by 1. And did anyone else make four or more rolls?
I think I have. So did that homesteader table.
Homesteader table doesn't count because that was a sub-table.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. So now that you've got all your milestones, and technically you already have all of your propensities, peculiarities. You've got your sundries because the Paragon class also provides you with your your basic starting sundries, which is like a handful of cash, some ammo, a horse if you're lucky, and a dream of a better tomorrow. Everyone has 75 points to divvy up amongst any of your skills to sort of like round your character out how you want. So if you'd like to spend those, we can do that. Or if you want to tell people your thought process behind your characters, we can do those. And then we'll sort of touch on some lines and veils, and we'll wrap up for today.
And what's the max we can spend?
You can get up to a max of 75.
On anyone?
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
like any max for like we've got 75 points. Could we just put all 75
If
in
you
a new
want,
skill, or like okay,
it could be a new
so there's no
skill.
limit.
This is like what you did in your free time, other things you picked up. And Quinn, I forgot an incredibly important part because no one else has magic but you. The magic you chose is what? Is you start with I'm starting magic.
Demonology.
So we didn't go over demonology a lot when we first made your character. And so I guess now we should probably at least touch on it for everyone listening. So for demonology, starting, basically the name of one minor demon, which you can then make your demonology roll. You can spin something and try to summon it forth. It has a cost and a tax to do it. And you can either try to press a demon into service for you, or if you want, you can try to capture part of its essence and bind it into an object of some kind. And you'd have a demon-empowered object. But then your demon can't be summoned anymore because you have it physically with you. Which of those would you like to have done? Know it so you can call it and try to get it to do things for you, or have put it into something and use it?
Know it.
Okay. So
and know its name so I can bring it up. Sorry.
What is your resolve skill? You have resolve trait.
My resolve trait with my bonus, it's 13.
Okay. So your starting demonology skill is going to be 23%, and your 75 points you cannot put into that. That can only be raised with experience or other things.
Okay, that sounds great. I also now with that bit of knowledge know exactly what happened to my brother.
Awesome. All right, crew.
Because 23% is me at 23, so my skill was not always that high.
All right. Have you all spent your 75 points, or would you like to do that later and just talk about your characters a little bit?
I think I'd lean towards spend later because I'm going to play with those points numbers and agonize over it.
Yeah. I'm gonna whip out the old spreadsheet.
All right. I've been talking a lot, so whoever would like to start, maybe talk about your character. So I guess the one thing I will say is that you're all brought together by an incident that I sent to you that happened during the war that I am not going to spoil here, so please don't spoil it for anyone listening. That's it.
Let me pull up the info on that. But did you happen to say where that took place? I'm checking. Okay, you did. Cool.
It's very specific.
So I'll think just going sort of with some of the stuff with my character here. So I've talked about him sort of being sort of a grifter comment, sort of learn it from dad. But I think going back to with these new roles, there's this sort of added bit that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
I think there's this sort of theme, and really kind of for the most part, through childhood and adolescence life, it's sort of it was almost like a bad dream. It's this kind of thing that no one had kind of really talked much about and forgotten. There was just sort of some incident where it's sort of him and his twin kind of stumbled into some old books that dad had picked up, right? And they're just oh, hey, this is cool, this looks like we can summon some things, and we we're going in there and we'll just play, this should be good. We're like poor unfortunate children playing with the most absurdly dangerous Ouija board ever, right? And so we played kind of, we did picked a random page out the book, and we just hey, let's just do this ritual. It went poorly, right? But rather than even in the aftermath of it, rather than the sort of punishment and kind of horror and stuff that you it would expect from your parents when they found out all the horrible stuff, right? And we're there, it was just kind of okay, dad in particular was just hey, it's cool, let's just forget, just swept it under the rug and conspicuously like went on like this didn't happen, and like we didn't like mention the twin, we don't like think about the stuff, and like until fast forward, like, you know, learning about this sort of like practitioner who's calling himself my brother is sort of like just forgot about this thing, and now it's like this weird, it's this weird part he's papered over on his life, and that he's sort of like doing all this grifting and conning and sort of doing all that other stuff, but now that demon that he summoned and messed up with his brother is kind of like this thing that he uses, and then he is you know, he used it in the weird war to fight, right? And you know, the demon keeps sort of helping and messing up his life, and his brother is sort of trying to get maybe payback or something. It's sort of how I'm envisioning it.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Who would like to go
I'm going to
next?
be in so much trouble.
Well, you've given me a lot to work with. I appreciate that.
I'd love to find some points of, you know, like some common points that we can come at together, like things that we've done together, or something that binds us as a group of people, like things where we connect. Like 3 of us have ties to the law. It's possible, Quinn, that you somehow were involved with like my Clockwork Heart. Ariel, you also have a Clockwork Heart. Like maybe that's something that can connect us. Just finding those sort of things, I think, might be a fun way to get us into that, maybe
Gelling together as a group from
Yeah.
ties beyond the single inciting event that Chris has for us. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just and ways that we can, in terms of personality building stuff, figure out sort of the dynamics of how we operate.
Well, another big thought for that then is, after the war, what did you all do? You already knew each other after the war. Did you stay together? Did you go separate ways?
I mean, I think I probably was back to work as much as I can, sort of, and then doing the gunslinging gigs on the side.
So
Maybe having somebody at work who's sending us off on those. So
I actually have a thought for Chris. You had asked about that story of how this, you know, lawful character winds up in jail, and I think I know exactly what happened. You know, I figure my character probably stayed in the army and wound up, I don't know exactly how, but you know, he has this notorious background and component, and so some Politico is showing the foreign visitors around, and some of those foreign visitors happen to be, you know, like British diplomats. And oh, wait, we know you, we know your record. So instead of being shown off as the like prize trooper of the garrison, he's like, you know, clapped in irons and has to figure out a way to escape. And so
Awesome.
that's a path out of the army and into, you know, back into collision with the rest of the group.
Awesome. I love that.
Jen, you and I have another point that I'm sure it's at some point in our relationship bonded us. Clara's mother died giving birth to them, a fact which one of her siblings to this day still blames them for. It essentially broke Clara's father's heart, and he never recovered from it. And in essence, that the grief is what killed him. And the aunt and uncle that took Clara in, Clara became like a wedge between them, and the uncle was Clara's mother's brother, and also basically always blamed Clara for the death of his sister, and no one was particularly gracious about that. They've kind of known their whole life that they're responsible for their mother's death and fundamentally the breaking of their entire family. So that's a heavy thing
I like
to
it.
carry for your life.
Yeah. We also have the animal connection too, because I grew up very much around animals. I'm struggling with what specifically the earliest childhood disenfranchisement was there, but it definitely, part of that was the tie to animals and animal handling, and nature. So I know we have that in common as well. There's something interesting about the having a broken heart and having now a clockwork heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
And also now that's 3 of us that have sibling issues.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's
there's like an alternate reality team that's the siblings banding together coming after us.
Who said alternate?
I mean, well, in a different stream. It's a different. There's 2 teams happening here.
Give me
Anyway,
a
sorry,
trade,
Quinn, I
please.
cut you off.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So I'm wondering if there's like possibly after the war sort of make extra like change since there was like kind of like a little bit of exposure for other folks to the supernatural before. Like if I kind of like one of my many kind of I was gonna say scams, but like that's a bad word. A venture. One of my many ventures is pest removal, which is sort of like code name for sort of like getting rid of like supernatural like varmints and kind of bits, and that might be something that I could like occasionally pull people in on. Was like, hey, I got a job, right?
So
it's like, you know, the
Moses, are you an exorcist?
No. Just, you know,
it's more like Men in Black type.
Yeah, exactly. Like sort of get rid of like, hey, I know people who have problems, right? And it might even be in a thing of like, I can't necessarily repair or work on the hearts, but like I can, like, if we do favors for these people, they can sort of do these things for us. Possibly.
Are you trying to start the 1868 Ghostbusters?
Well,
So
Wild
yeah.
Wild West, right? It had Is it Wild Wild West or something had?
Mm-hmm.
There's something with like, I don't know. Ignore me.
Do we
Disregard.
we all have a connection to the unnatural, if nothing else, through the incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll
The
be fun.
incident.
Certainly
Yes, Drew.
no way
The
come
incident.
back to bite us.
But like whether it's that or something else, I definitely think that I sort of pull people back in on occasion with just like, hey, I've got like odd jobs, or like, hey, I need, you know, like, you know, there's somebody needs killing, right? Like, you know, so I call in the gunslinger, right? Like, here's them, you know, or like, hey, there's something that needs tracking, or, you know, like just sort of like I always have odd jobs.
Because, you know, if any of you call, you have to ride for the brand, because I literally need to say the title of the adventure. Do I need to say it? All right. So
I believe the phrase is accepting the premise.
I guess we'll touch on what people are comfortable with us playing and not playing in the game, and then we'll wrap it up. So if there's anything, topics or different points you don't want to see in the game or deal with, please feel free to like let us know, like tell me, and we can like work through it and make sure that we don't have those show up in the sessions. I just need to know what everyone is comfortable with doing.
I'll go first. My hard lines are sexual assault. I ableism. I mean, we can discuss that, but generally that's a pretty hard line for me. And I'm not good with force feeding. I would rather not have any force feeding stuff. That's a squick me out thing. So I would prefer that be a line.
Okay. Anyone else? I guess I will tell you mine is that as a father, I don't deal with anything that deals with kids. That's a total hard no-go for me. Yeah. Sorry, Humza, you were saying.
I'll plus that.
That was going to be mine, my addition.
A soft one for me is, and it's not a full exclusion because I like to grapple with it, but sort of like racism, like being depowered in the face of racism. Like I like if it's gonna be there in a way that we can sort of do something about it, not be hopeless against it, because too much of real life is like that. As long as we have actions against it, I'm good.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. Like,
yeah, I just felt like I need to say that. I don't think it will be, but
because
I think I'll put ableism in the same category.
Because we're gonna touch. Well, we're going to be addressing and dealing with some of the racism of the time, but at no point in time should you not be able to act or engage with it. It may have some difficulties associated with it, but I will not strip you of your capabilities or capacities to confront it and overcome it. Like, the game itself is a game built on hope through perseverance. And if you... I will not get on the soapbox as you come. So in short order...
I put this out here so you could get on the soapbox, just so we could be all clear on it. So go ahead.
A lot of people have heard me on soapboxes.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Because I want to make sure that you're all heard, and we can and I can make sure that's taken care of in the scenario that I'm tweaking right now.
Nothing else is coming to mind at the moment.
Okay. Is there anything specifically that? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, just everybody else hit the points.
Is there anything specifically, one thing specifically, that each of you would like to see over the course of the game?
That's a good question.
I'm full. Not always, but sometimes.
I really love the chance to learn directly from whatever we encounter. So if we defeat a creature that is, I'm just going to go with the clockwork because that's what I'm thinking of. But if we defeat a clockwork golem, I would love to be able to learn from that how it works and be able to draw on that knowledge for future use.
Okay.
Absorbing information, I think, is always a super cool thing that grounds, instead of XP being a mechanical thing, it becomes learning from the experiences of things you come across.
Cool.
Information is tangible reward all its own. Yeah.
I like that.
Anyone else?
Well, one thing that I'd like to see, but this may be less interesting for other folks. So if it's if it's not to the taste of everyone else, I completely respect that. But I would be interested in seeing larger scale group combat, not just our four characters as a party, but broader units, company level type stuff.
Like that.
Okay.
I've just been on a big Napoleonic history kick recently, and
I love the idea of Chris having to bring Napoleon level conflict.
Are you sure you really want to see that?
Yes, 100%.
You know I do.
All right.
Well, we're all ex-military, so it makes sense that we would know how to work in battalions and such.
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Chris knows this, but I'll tell everyone else. I'm here for the weird. And I want the shortest path between, the first moment in the game to the weird as possible. And for it to to run into it as often as possible.
Low mean time to weird.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But I planned out 12 sessions of nothing happening like a Seinfeld episode.
No one believes that.
The gang goes shopping at the general store.
See, and that's the I'm the person in the game where you roll into town and everybody else like goes shopping and checks out their hotel room, and all I do is go, so what's the weird thing everybody's talking about? Great, I'm gonna go to the cemetery. Which usually just makes the GM go, wait, what now? What? Oh, okay. This is me every time, for better or worse.
Can I jump off of that a little bit too, and as an accommodation thing, that if at some point we start to feel stuck, or I'll say if I start to feel stuck, to be able to ask for some help on a hand on head out of game level, because that's for me, that's where I get a little frustrated, or there's fun in like trying to figure out what's going on, but at a certain point, if it gets to a certain level, I think to keep things moving and fresh, where it's becomes, if it's my failure in not understanding something or not remembering versus a character failure in not remembering, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also in my experience, the weird is actually also one of the easiest places to feel overwhelmed and helpless, and your character outside, but Ariel inside is beating her head going, I know there's an answer to this problem. Why can't I see the answer to this problem? I know there's a path here and it's right around this corner. Why can't I get around that corner? And that's definitely where the power of the group is, powerful.
Awesome. Quinn, did you have anything else? I think I've heard pretty much from everyone else.
The weird one actually covered it for me. I'm just like, I'm like definitely here for like weirdness, and I'm pretty much good on board.
Awesome. I guess chat.
And the cool stuff of the system too. Sorry.
Oh, no, please. What did you say?
Yeah, no, like we're playing a brand new system with brand new mechanics and brand new creatures and encounters and things, and like I would love to see stuff that is unique to this, and what makes this special and cool and different than anything else that's been out there. So I'd love to explore if there's a cool mechanic. I'd love to have an opportunity for us to try it out and face off with it.
Oh yeah. Can I need to say that you were not prompted at all to say that? That was not me sending people.
No, not at all. That was 100%. That's 100% genuine. Like I want to see that stuff. That's when you're playing a game, you want to know what the game's about. You know,
right? Absolutely. You have,
and if you come in playing generic same game,
then it isn't any different. Yeah, you absolutely have 100% permission to torture and tweak my character in any way if it gives you an opportunity to flex what Ouroboros can do. Go do it.
Thank you.
Go. I'll always take the hit in the name of interesting story or expansion or options or yes, my
awesome.
my character is not delicate. I'm not one of those players.
Because that will also
let me show off. I'll be your target.
That will also let me show off some of the amazing artwork that Kurt's done. Like nice. I've got some incredible pieces. Once we're off stream, if you want to hang out for a couple minutes, I may share one or two with you so you can see some of the stuff he's done.
Nice.
Cool.
So that's it. I guess I'll give the chat one last minute to answer any questions, and then we'll wrap up for today since that was character creation. Keep it a little shorter. Most sessions will run longer, and next session we will be bound by blood. First session.
Woo!
Woo!
And it looks like there are no questions. So I'll give everyone a chance to give themselves an outro, then I'll wrap up. Quinn, would you like to start?
Sure. Quinn Murphy, QH_Murphy on Twitter. And I have unfortunately like right now, like I have like most of my projects are like coming out like next year. But expect to see a bunch of stuff from Paizo and some other places coming on in 2021.
Thanks, Quinn. Ariel.
I'm Ariel. I'm allegedly at Ariel Contessa on Twitter, but that would require me to be on Twitter, which is really a thing that I do. Yeah, the pandemic definitely screwed up a bunch of stuff. So I have several things that are in some mid place of limbo and will be a thing probably eventually, but so I'm just here to play games. So thanks everybody for watching. I'm really excited.
Thanks, Ariel. Humza.
I'm at Alanderos on Twitter, but like Ariel, I'm staying off it for a bit. Let's see. I'm, as I mentioned at the start, I'm a partner with the Hydra Cooperative. Please keep a lookout for our forthcoming Kickstarter for the Slumbering Ursine Dunes Omnibus coming next year, and for the sequel to Lorne Song of the Bachelor, Mace of the Monkey King.
That's a great title. Jen.
Hey, I am Jen Kretchmer. You can find me on Twitter as @DreamWisp, DreamWisp. You can find me on Twitch as DreamWispJen. I am the creator of the Accessibility in Tabletop resource guide, which you can find in my pinned tweet. And I also have a bunch of cool stuff coming out next year. I should be able to announce some of it by the next session, I believe. So that'll be exciting. Yeah. And I'm really excited. This is going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, thanks everyone for coming out. And if you want to follow me, I'm at darker_hue on Twitter. Usually on Twitter, I may only tweet once a day. But if you get a chance, if you've stayed this entire time, please go out, retweet or buy products of marginalized creatives, as they have a harder struggle than anyone else. And every one of your dollars means the world.